Yes, so we're looking at the last in, first out of inventory valuation. So I have this question here. We've been given transactions. Okay, so we have to put these transactions in the store's ledger. Right. So the first one we have our opening inventory, 50 units valued at 20 kwacha. Okay, so here on date here, we put opening inventory. Okay, we come to the balance section. Okay, 50 units valued at 20 kwacha. So the total cost of these units is 1000 kwacha. Okay, this is our opening inventory, the inventory that we start with at the beginning of the year. Then now we're going to go through our transactions to see the goods that have come in that have been sold. All right. The next transaction on the first of the month purchased 20 units at 20 kwacha. Okay, so here we're going to put the first of the month purchased the quantity 20 units valued at 20 kwacha. So this costed us a total of 400 kwacha. Okay. Let's say here, let's say for example, what you're selling is, let's say, so that we can give it more context. Okay, so maybe I can say here we're selling spare parts for cars. Okay, spare parts. Okay, right. This company sells spare parts. Okay, so on the 1st of January, they purchased 20 spare parts valued at 20 kwacha. Okay, their business deals with selling of spare parts. So here on our balance section, they had 50 spare parts valued at 20 kwacha. All right. Total value of those spare parts was 1000 kwacha. Then they brought in another 20 spare parts. Okay. So this is going to be valued at 400 kwacha. Okay. As I said, every time there is a purchase, you are going to separate the inventory, like the way I have done here. Okay. Yes. On the second, we purchased another 30 spare parts. All right. So we're going to say second, purchased 30 spare parts valued at 18 kwacha each. Okay. The cost of these spare parts was 540. Okay. So again, we come back to our balance section. We had 50 spare parts valued at 20 kwacha each. The total value 1000 kwacha. Then we also had another 20 spare parts which are valued at also 20 kwacha, 400 kwacha. Then now we brought in 30 spare parts valued at 18 kwacha. So the total value 540 kwacha. Okay. So as I said, each time there is a purchase, you are seeing how I'm dividing out the inventory. Okay. Then on the third, issued 20 spare parts. All right. So I said, other times you're going to see sales. All right. Yes. So whenever there is an issue or the sales, you're going to value the spare parts at cost. Okay. Why? Because we're not tabulating the gross profit. We want to get our cost of goods sold. Okay. So here on the third, we'll come under sales or issues. We issued 20 spare parts. Okay. We sold these 20 spare parts. Right. They've told us in this question the selling price of the goods is 40 kwacha. So let's say these spare parts was selling them at 40 kwacha. But here under this the in the store's ledger, we're not going to put value it at the selling price. We're valuing it at cost. And also, this is where we need to apply the last in, first out. Okay, so we're going to focus here. Okay, we're going to remove the spare parts from the latest batch. Okay, the latest batch were these 30 spare parts here. Okay, these 30 spare parts are the latest batch. So we're going to remove 20 from them. Okay, we're removing 20 from them. So we're going to value this 20 at 18 kwacha. All right. So the cost of the spare parts that we sold is 360 kwacha. So here in our balance section, okay, remember we have 50 spare parts which we got earlier on valued at 20 kwacha. Then we have the other 20 spare parts valued at 20 kwacha also. Then from these 30, since we removed 20, it means we remained with 10 of them. Okay, 10 of these spare parts which are valued at 18 kwacha. Okay, yes. Any questions? Okay. On the yes, this is the same process here. We're having another issue here. So here on the fourth, there was another issue. Mute your mic. So on the fourth again, there's another issue. Okay. So it means we issued how many? Let's see. On the fourth, we issued 15 spare parts. Okay. But to make life simple, we sold 15 spare parts. Okay. So these 15 spare parts that we are selling, okay, we have to, so we come here, we're going to focus here. And we're going to say, we have to remove from our latest batch, okay, since we have sold 15 of these spare parts. So the first 10 will be removed from this batch here, okay. The first 10 spare parts that will be sold are removed from this batch here, okay. So here, under quantity, you're going to put 10 spare parts which are sold. These 10 spare parts that were sold, they costed 18 kwacha each. So the total cost of these 10 spare parts that have been sold is 180 kwacha. Okay. Now remember, we've issued out 15. So we removed our first 10 from here. Okay, so I'll put here minus 10. So the remaining 5, we're going to remove them from this next batch here. These 20 spare parts which are valued at 20 kwacha each. The next 5, so I'll say minus 5. The next 5 will be removed from that batch. Okay, so here you're going to put 5 spare parts valued at 20 kwacha. Okay. So from these 15 spare parts that we've sold, 10 are valued at 18 kwacha and 5 are valued at 20 kwacha. Okay. Uh-huh. Just hold on first. Let me finish what I'm doing here because this question will be sent to you. So just hold on. Okay. But here it is basic. Here's the question here. We're on the fourth here. 15 issued 15 units. Okay. Sold 15 of these units. Okay. So In our balance, we remain with the 50 spare parts, which were valued at 20 kwacha each. Then these 20 spare parts, we removed 5 from there. So we remained with 15 of them, valued at 20 kwacha each. Okay, so this is our balance section. Okay, yes. On the 5th, purchased 10 spare parts valued at 15 kwacha. Okay, purchased 10 spare parts valued at 15 kwacha. That's on the 5th. Okay. So on the 5th, okay, purchased 10 spare parts. Just put here 10. We went to our supplier, we bought 10 of these spare parts. Found now they are cheap, but they're going for 15 kwacha each. So 10 times 15, that is 150 kwacha. Okay, so whenever there is a purchase, remember, you are just updating this balance section. Okay, so we have our 50 spare parts valued at 20 kwacha. Then the other 15 valued at 20 kwacha. Then now we brought in another 10 valued at 15 kwacha. Okay. Yes. Okay. For this transaction on the 5th. So just remember this. Every time there is a purchase, this balance section is it's growing. Okay. Then when there's a sale or an issue, then you need to apply either the FIFO or LIFO, depending on which one you're using. Okay. So uh, on the 6th, sold 35 spare parts. Okay. 35 spare parts. So we're going to come to our this section here and say, okay, this 35, the first batch we're removing from here, the latest, remove from the latest. This is 10 valued at 15. Okay, when I say 10 valued at 15 kwacha each. Okay, so remember, we've sold 35. Okay, we sold 35. So the first 10 come out from here. Okay, then the next come from this, the next batch is coming from here. Okay, we're removing all these 15. Okay, so here we're going to put 15 spare parts valued at 20 kwacha. Okay, so we've accounted for 25 of these spare parts. Okay, we've accounted for 25. Then the remaining 10, spare parts will be removed from this batch here now. Okay, so here we're going to put 10 valued at 20 kwacha each. 200 kwacha there. All right. So in our balance section here, Well, since we removed 10 from this 50, this remaining 50, batch of 50, so on our balance section, we're going to remain with 40 units valued at 20 kwacha each, and that is 800 kwacha. 800 kwacha. Okay. So, since that was the last transaction, the value of our closing inventory is this 800 kwacha here. Okay. Closing inventory, let me put here. Closing inventory is 800 kwacha. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay. Now the question also said we need to calculate our gross profit. Okay. So the gross profit, remember, is just the sales revenue minus cost of goods sold. Okay. Sales revenue minus cost of goods sold. Okay. So our cost of goods sold, we get it from this column here, the sales and issues column. As I said earlier on, remember, whenever there's a sale, you're valuing the inventory at cost so that you can tabulate the cost of goods sold. Okay. So the cost of goods sold, you're just going to add the total values here, the total cost of these goods sold. Okay. We sold, remember, at first we sold 20 of these goods. The total cost was 360. Sold another 10, their cost was 108. We sold another 5 here, cost 100 kwacha. Okay. Then we sold also these other ones here, this total of 35 units, which were valued at 150, 300, and 200. So the cost of goods sold is 1,290 kwacha. Okay, and this is the total cost of the goods that were sold. Okay. Then, once we've got the cost of goods sold, we can get our sales revenue. Okay, and this is where now this information comes in hand, where it says the selling price of the goods is 40 kwacha. Okay, so we just find out how many goods do we sell in total. We come back to the sales column, the sales or issues column. You want to find out what is the total number of goods that you sold. Okay, so you're going to say we sold 20 goods, sold another 25 here, 10 plus 5 here, and we sold another 35 here. We sold a total of 70 goods. Okay, and the total cost of these 70 goods sold was 1,290. Then one find out what is the sales revenue. Remember, each of these 70 goods is sold at 40 kwacha each. Okay, so you're going to say sales revenue, 70 units sold at 40 kwacha each. We made 2,800. Minus the cost of goods sold, 1,290. Our gross profit, 2,800 minus 1,290, 1,510. That is the gross profit. Okay. That is the gross profit. Yes.